Tonight in Montreal, 30 years after the École Polytechnique massacre, honoring 14 women shot dead because they were women.
It's still important to remember.
The ceremony, the survivors, and a reckoning with what it was, femicide. Terrorism-related charges filed against a Canadian man. Also tonight,
we never take Uber alone.
As we learn about thousands of sexual assaults in American Ubers, how women in Canada rideshare. And the perennial holiday tree battle, natural or artificial.
One is cut down, other ones are replaced with the seedlings.
The growers hitting back against the ad that lit this year's fight. This is The National. We are in Montreal tonight, atop Mount Royal, looking over a city remembering that unforgettable crime. The massacre of 14 women at École Polytechnique, killed because they were women daring to learn and succeed. Classes were still going on a cold Wednesday evening 30 years ago when a 25-year-old man who once tried to go to that very school went on his rampage of burning hatred.
He said in French, "You're a bunch of feminists," and he started to shoot.
Marc Lépine stalked the floors with a semi-automatic rifle he bought specifically for one purpose, to kill women. Some he shot as they ran or tried to hide. Others, after separating them from the men, he executed, saying, "You're all feminists. I hate feminists." In the end, Lépine killed 14 women before turning the gun on himself. It's hard to overstate the shock and the terror of that day. Many Canadians say they still feel that trauma. So today, hundreds gathered at a ceremony here in Montreal. As Alison Northcott explains, the culmination of a day of intense emotion.
This is where the trauma began 30 years ago at École Polytechnique.
She hid herself, but since she was blonde with long hair, probably he spotted her.
It's where Catherine Bergeron's sister Geneviève was killed.
We used to call her our sunshine. Very, very talented in a lot of film and very kind.
Bergeron says she and her sister grew up believing women could be anything they wanted.
Everything was possible.
And then when this happened,
I understood that, and not that it was not that.
The ceremony tonight drew people touched by the event in many ways, some so closely. Stéphane Chaillet was in the classroom when Marc Lépine walked in.
I remember him shooting on the wall. I remember us panicking, not knowing what we had to do.
Over the years, he says his perspective on what happened has changed.
It was maybe easier to think that it was just an individual that had mental illness. So it took me maybe 20 years to realize what this was all about.
And what is that?
I think it was about violence against women.
I am an engineer through and through.
Governor General Julie Payette said there's still a need to call out the sexism that remains today.
To the belittling, the dehumanizing, the name-calling that we observe so often, especially to any woman who raise her head above the crowd. We have to speak up and say no.
Nathalie Croteau.
And then 14 beams of light lit up the sky, one for each of the victims.
30 years ago, these women's respective lives and destinies were shattered, which has left us with the obligation to reflect on this loss.
I graduated in mechanical engineering, and I feel that I have the future that those girls won't have.
30 years later, on a day that looks just as it did then, it is as raw as it ever was.
And so, Alison, I guess what makes this even more sobering is news that there's been you know, a charge connected to the story of that massacre even today.
Yes, Montreal police said that they have arrested a man who ran a blog that glorified the Polytechnique killer. They say that it contained misogynist material and that he's facing charges of inciting hate, and that this isn't the first time that that man's been arrested on similar charges.
Even today. Thanks very much, Alison. Now, it's not just Montreal remembering tonight. Canadians paid tribute all across the country, including in the House of Commons.
Each December, as we honor the memories of those 14 women, the survivors, and the families, we promise to do better. But the reality is that in 30 years, things haven't changed enough.
Bloc MP Andréenne Larouche read out the victims' names, and the House observed a moment of silence. Also in the capital region, marchers called for an end to violence against women, while students and faculty at Carleton University stood in solidarity in a spirit of defiance.
These are some very powerful, important women. They were about to do something great with their lives, but today we've made it to 30 years and women are making it everywhere in engineering, and it just really speaks to me.
A message echoed at the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg, New Brunswick's University of Moncton, and at Dalhousie University in Halifax.
For us, the December 6th is a symbol of the determination and perseverance of women. Despite the adversity, despite the resistance.
And in Toronto, Mayor John Tory today proclaimed December 6th a national day of remembrance and action on violence against women. So stay with us as we continue to remember the Polytechnique tonight, 30 years after. What's changed and what hasn't. The story of one victim's brother still haunted by loss. A woman horrified to learn she was on Lupin's list of targets. Plus, a look at the gun control debate and an evolving legacy calling the massacre what it was. That's in about 20 minutes. In other news, we can tell you more now about an Ontario man who last night was being held without charge for fear he might commit a terror attack. Today, the 22-year-old was charged with terror-related offenses. Katie Nicholson has been following the story for months and has the details.
Federal prosecutor Howard Piewski couldn't say much, but he did say this.
I think any time somebody's charged with leaving Canada to join a terrorist organization, it's a significant case with significant charges.
Ikar Mao was already living under strict court-imposed conditions because of fears he might commit a terror offense. This morning, the 22-year-old was formally charged with participation in the activity of a terrorist group and leaving Canada to participate in that activity. Terror-related charges are rare in Canada. Each count carries a maximum sentence of 10 years. Mao's lawyer didn't want to comment today. In Ottawa, the public safety minister was also tight-lipped.
I am aware that the matter is being investigated thoroughly and independently by the RCMP. I am also advised that charges have been laid in with respect to that investigation, and I'm not going to comment on any matter that's currently before the court.
It's not known what evidence led the RCMP to lay charges. There's a publication ban in place. But CBC News was able to view confidential documents from Turkey that shed light on why Mao was detained there for 3 months this year. Turkish authorities alleged he was using Telegram, the app favored by ISIS, and that he had downloaded its propaganda on his phone, videos like this one. He said the videos appeared on his device through normal web surfing activity. He was released from Turkey in October. RCMP was already investigating him when he returned to Canada. When the hearing ended, Mao was let out in handcuffs. He will remain in custody at least until Wednesday, his next court date. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
Terrorism is being investigated as the possible motive behind a deadly attack at a Florida naval station. U.S. officials say the shooter was a Saudi airman training in the United States. As Kim Brunhuber reports, 4 people were killed, including the shooter who died in a gunfight with police.
Ordered to shelter in place.
A warning broadcast to residents near a Florida naval air station to shelter in place, the historic home of U.S. naval aviation itself under attack.
All these brave warriors who wear the wings, they come through here for flight training, and so this is a dark day for a very great place.
The shooter was a member of the Saudi Air Force. Police say he killed and wounded several people with a handgun before being shot dead by a sheriff's deputy. The suspect was one of about 200 foreign students training at the Naval Air Station.
They learn aviation, they become naval aviators while they're here. It's something that we've been doing for quite a while, and it's with our partner nations.
Now, say some American legislators, Saudi Arabia has to answer for this.
Given that this was a foreign national in the employ of a foreign service, and there'll be time to do this, but obviously the government of Saudi Arabia needs to make things better for these victims, and I think that they are going to owe a debt here, given that this is one of their individuals.
Express his sincere condolences and give.
President Trump says the King of Saudi Arabia called to say the Saudi people are greatly angered by the barbaric actions of the shooter.
I can tell you it's a horrible thing that took place, and we're getting to the bottom of it.
The FBI will lead the investigation, aiming to uncover whether this was an act of terrorism. This was the second deadly shooting at a naval base in as many days. On Wednesday, a Navy sailor fatally shot 2 people at the Pearl Harbor Navy shipyard. Now, Pensacola, Florida becomes the latest military community rocked by violence unconnected to any conventional war. Kim Brunhuber, CBC News, Los Angeles.
30 years after the massacre at École Polytechnique, we've slowly come to acknowledge that women's safety can never really be taken for granted. Last night, we showed you Uber's U.S. safety record for 2018, more than 3,000 reported incidents of sexual assault in Uber vehicles. The company will not provide Canadian numbers, but Thomas Degla found that for many women, fearing the worst is just a matter of course.
For Uber, a company built on app-based convenience, an old-fashioned in-person visit to an office acts as a filter for problematic drivers. Just ask Zaina Teklu, who's signing up now.
And there's a few documents that I had to submit in person online, so it's a very strenuous background check they do.
And no wonder. As more and more ride-hailing vehicles take to Canada's streets, more and more stories emerge of users falling victim to violence or harassment. Like a case in Ajax, Ontario, where a driver was charged after an alleged sexual assault and robbery.
We never take Uber alone. We make sure we're always together, especially like late at night.
I never really felt the need to be like, okay, I should watch myself, unless I was like maybe crazy drunk getting into my Uber.
Uber's launched a PR operation, publishing the number of reported incidents in the U.S. and sharing this video.
Sexual violence is more prevalent than we'd like to admit.
But the company's not releasing Canadian data. Instead, it's been partnering with community groups here like the YWCA.
Our job is working with survivors and actually bringing the voices of survivors into the room.
Uber's reminding users to respect guidelines that apply to everyone in the car, and it's promoting its built-in tools in case of trouble.
You can tap help within the Uber app to report.
It's just a start, says this Ryerson professor.
Every time I get in the car, I don't know who that person is at the wheel. I don't know what their experience is. I don't know how well they've been checked. They could be clear when they do the check, and then they could be involved in some kind of domestic assault or other forms of assault within a month.
Assaults only occur in a tiny fraction of rides, but the perception remains. Ride-hailing may not be as safe as it is convenient. Thomas Dagler, CBC News, Toronto.
For women, India is one of the most dangerous places in the world to live. Violence against women in India is so pervasive, particularly sexual violence. About 100 cases of rape are reported there every day. And today, backlash. Chris O'Neill-Yates now on the police killing of 4 suspected rapists and the celebrations those killings triggered.
It could be mistaken for one of India's colorful festivals. Police honored with flowers and sweets, treated like heroes after taking suspects of a gang rape to the scene of the crime, purportedly to reenact it. They killed the 4 men. Police say they had tried to flee. The victim's sister is relieved.
And I feel very happy for it, and I think this would be an example, and nobody will even think of doing it. and I think it's a record time they have did this.
Priyanka Reddy was a 27-year-old veterinary assistant. Police say she was abducted on her way to work, gang raped, murdered, and set on fire. Her charred remains found under a bridge. Reddy's death prompted renewed protests across India. Angry demonstrators demanding swifter justice for crimes against women. But not everyone is celebrating the death of her suspected rapists.
Those people were in any case going to get hanging as a punishment for the heinousness of their crime. But you cannot kill people because you want to.
The groundswell against India's so-called rape culture began in 2012, when a young woman was raped by 6 men on a bus as it drove around Delhi. She later died from those injuries. That victim's father is also celebrating those police killings in Hyderabad. But human rights organizations are calling for an investigation to determine whether the police carried out extrajudicial killings. For many in India, though, justice has been served, even if it wasn't done in the courts. Chris O'Neill Yates, CBC News, Vancouver.
So we have to take just a 2-minute break, but we will be back with more coverage from Montreal, plus other stories making news tonight, including why Christmas tree farmers across the country are not in the holiday spirit. We'll tell you where they're pointing the blame. And the new way to view art beyond the painting, an immersive experience that's really a Canadian first.
And a deadly house fire has a small Alberta community reeling tonight. After the break, we'll take you there for what we know about the fire that has killed 5 people. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Montreal. We have more coverage of today's ceremony coming right up, but first, a story of a seasonal debate sparked by an ad. Real Christmas tree or artificial? As Carolyn Dunn tells us, it's not just fun and games.
For decades, the Yakachuk family has been buying their Christmas tree in this Calgary lot. Their natural tree is the focal piece of a huge Christmas celebration with family and friends.
And it's just become part of a family tradition. We won't have a Christmas without the Christmas tree smell, the real Christmas tree smell.
A Canadian Tire ad seems to be suggesting artificial trees are friendlier to wildlife. It features a little girl concerned about forest creatures in natural trees, so the family opts for artificial.
Everything you need for the ones you adore.
That ad raised the ire of Christmas tree growers. They say it leaves an impression that artificial trees are more environmentally friendly than natural trees.
It's not realistic.
Conrad Seward is growing about 3,000 Christmas trees, mostly balsam fir, on his tree farm.
One is cut down, other ones are replaced with the seedlings. They smell great. It's a great family, to come out and cut their Christmas trees.
Artificial Christmas trees are popular. They're convenient and can be used for years on end. But studies have shown manufacturing them emits more greenhouse gases than natural trees, not to mention the plastic that will eventually end up not composting in landfill.
The fake trees use what we call the grinchiest of plastics.
Lindsay Coulter has been campaigning for live versus artificial for a decade.
And people are looking at other options. Even some people are decorating just an outdoor tree with some of their decorations that are safe to be outside.
Coulter says other options include potted trees that can be decorated. Canadian Tire insists its ad wasn't meant to be a statement on the real versus artificial tree debate. It says live trees are sold at 200 of its locations, and it prides itself on offering customers a choice. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, near Rocky Mountain House, Alberta.
All right, let's go now to our national newsroom in Vancouver, where Ian is watching some stories from across Canada tonight.
And Adrian, there's a major developing story in Alberta. Officials there say 5 people, including 3 children, have died in a house fire that sparked late in the afternoon. On Thursday, it happened in the small community of Rochford Bridge, about a half an hour northwest of Edmonton. That's where our Rafi Boudjikanian is tonight. And Rafi, what's the reaction in the community been like?
Ian, this is all still very raw here. I know it's getting dark. I'm not sure how much of the rubble you can still see behind me, but as we arrived, it was still getting bulldozed. This was someone's house. 5 people lived in it. And if you walk to the edge of this very small hamlet of Rochford Bridge, you can still smell the smoke in the air. Now, the RCMP will still only tell us that 2 adults and 3 children lived here, but neighbors are being more candid. One told us that she would watch these 3 kids get picked up every morning by a school bus, get dropped off at the end of the day. And here's a little bit more of what Michelle Truchik had to say about the residents of this home.
They're a family that would give their shirt off their back to you. If they were dead poor, don't matter. They would make sure you were okay. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very loving family.
Now, the RCMP will say that they've been here since last night. They were actually still on the scene when we arrived. They told us that they've determined the fire was not suspicious, so they're leaving the rest of the investigation in the hands of fire officials. But police are reminding everyone, the holidays are just around the corner. Be careful with your Christmas lights. Be careful with your fireplaces if you are using them right now, Ian.
All right, Rafi, thank you. This was day 2 of a general strike right across France, and the impact is one of the international developing stories that we're watching tonight. I'll be back in about 20 minutes with that. For now, here's Adrian in Montreal.
Thanks, Ian. We have much more from Montreal tonight on the 30th anniversary of the École Polytechnique massacre. How one survivor is still fighting for change. Her push to get the gun that shot her banned.
In 2019, our laws regarding gun control are less stronger than they were in 1989.
We're back in Montreal. Each beam of light behind me, a shining reminder of a life lost at École Polytechnique on December 6, 1989. A lot can change in 30 years, and sometimes nothing does. For some of the survivors who decided to honor their classmates by fighting for gun control, an anniversary like this ends up being about both remembrance and rage. After all, the weapon that killed those 14 women is still legal in Canada. That's something survivors like Nathalie Provost didn't expect, just as she couldn't have foreseen what her life would become. At Polytechnique now, they call it the Order of the White Rose.
J'invite maintenant Madame Nathalie Provost.
For me, and probably for many people here, you symbolize the interrupted dreams of my classmates.
A scholarship for female engineering students to help reach a potential that 14 murdered young women could not. The 14 white roses are for them. Nathalie Provost, the survivor, champion of those lives lost and those about to flourish.
I would like to take your hand. I hold your hand so that this closeness between us, despite the passage of time, will make you share our innocence.
You actively held their hands. And looking on, I wondered what that meant and what the purpose of that was.
For me, it's the reminder of where we were 30 years ago. We were standing up, alive, in front of him just before he shot. And I think that's a very strong symbol, to be alive, standing up with them.
How she survived, she'll never understand. Shot 3 times in the head and legs.
I remember falling on the floor. I remember hearing his footsteps leaving the classroom. I tried to get out because I was able to stand up. I walked to the door. I opened it just the smallest I can and with no noise. And he was there to watch us,
yeah.
to block the entry. And then I came back. I told the girls, faites-les mortes.
Play dead.
Play dead. And we waited.
I was so terrified by seeing somebody killing my friends.
She was speaking out from the very start.
That I ask every girl in Quebec and everywhere in the world who wants to be an engineer to keep this idea in their mind, because engineering is a great profession.
Generous with the next generation even right away, but also eventually deeply angry and deep in another cause, gun control, starting with the gun used to shoot her.
What would surprise Canadians right now about that weapon?
That is still an unrestricted weapon. In some states, in the United States, right now, they are more protected. They have a better gun control than what we have here.
There aren't many families or survivors who talk so openly. Most are private in their grief, but in the gun control battle, Nathalie Provost has company.
Most of the assault weapons in Canada are restricted, like the 6-hour MCX, which was...
Heidi Rathjen. She escaped bullets that day, won't call herself a survivor, though. A fighter? Yes. Soon after graduation, she formed the Coalition for Gun Control.
In my head, I was doing it for 6 months. Turned into a year, so it ended up being 6 years.
And that was supposed to be it, because after all, in 1995, the Firearms Act came into being, a direct response to the massacre. The act decreed the licensing and registration of firearms.
When the law passed in December of '95, we had a party, and the families were there celebrating with us. And they said this is probably the most concrete, meaningful homage to the memory of the 14 victims, because they know that it will save more lives than those that were taken on that fateful day.
All those in favor of the motion will please rise.
Celebrations didn't last. The long gun registry disappeared under Stephen Harper. Other features of the act were dismantled too. So Heidi Rathjen is again surrounded by her gun control files, getting angrier and sadder all the time.
The witnesses and the families of the victims just want the death of their sisters and daughters not to be in vain. So 30 years is a long time, and for a lot of them, it's starting to be too long.
Imagine the long gone registry would have been a building. Nobody would have destroyed a building because it's an asset. Information system is an asset, and we let the government destroy an asset. From an engineer point of view, it's incredible.
She's angry at Stephen Harper too, but then, in a way, angrier at Justin Trudeau. She believed the laws would get passed when he had a majority government. She even joined the Firearms Advisory Committee, but she quit a few months ago in frustration so she could speak freely.
And I think I had to publicly say, no, it was not enough. And I cannot act as if I'm happy. I am not. I remember there's a picture of myself and Mr. Trudeau on the 25th anniversary where I believed.
You don't believe anymore?
I hope.
I humbly give you my hope and my faith in you. Merci.
She admits to a loneliness about all this, about bearing witness again and again and continuing to fight without yet winning. 30 years is a long time to talk about hope. There were fresh signs the Liberals intend to do something on gun control in yesterday's throne speech.
The government will crack down on gun crime, banning military-style assault rifles and taking steps to introduce a buyback program.
Encouraging words for gun control advocates, but it's the facts that worry them. While fully automatic weapons are banned, with the right certification, you can get most semi-automatic handguns and a wide range of military-style rifles. More than 300,000 Canadians already own weapons like this. So there's talk of a buyback program. Many of Canada's mass shootings, including Dawson College in Montreal in 2006, Moncton in 2014, and the Quebec City mosque shooting in 2017, involved legally obtained firearms. Motive can sometimes be maddeningly obscure, but not here, not 30 years ago. The shooter wrote it out in hate-soaked detail, shouted it as he gunned his victims down. He targeted feminists. Alison Northcott shows us how long it has taken to catch up to that fact.
One of our friends used to say it's easier to describe a whirlwind than it is to describe Anne-Marie, but very spunky, spontaneous, happy, lively, very adventurous. I miss that part of her.
When he remembers his sister, Anne-Marie, killed at École Polytechnique, it's hard sometimes for Jim Edward not to wonder what her life could have become.
Probably have a farm with 4 kids and lots of horses.
Do you think about that?
I don't know. Do I think about that? You try not to, just, But you sometimes you come to a point and you say, 25, 30 years later, where would she be at this point?
The collective memory of what happened is also important to Edward. In this memorial park, the city recently changed the wording on this sign to specifically call the act an anti-feminist attack.
It's an important step in making sure that we remember why this happened.
Before Marc Lépine started shooting, he separated the men from the women and shouted, "I hate feminists." In his suicide letter, he blamed feminists for ruining his life.
That's the letter.
Francine Pelletier was a columnist with La Presse newspaper at the time.
He says, the feminism have always made me rage. It occurred to me only then, in fact, how uneventful the whole women's movement, the whole second wave feminism had been. We had had a really easy time of it. And we had mistaken that easy time of it with the fact that everyone was sort of on board. As far as the possible resentment this could have created, we did not see it.
Lépin's letter included a list of women he said he would have killed if he'd had more time, including prominent feminists. Pelletier, on the right, was one of them.
It's just as horrible to kill women and to say that you hate women and proceed to mow them down as it is to say you hate feminists and mow them down. The difference is that he was aiming at our future. He was aiming at the progress that we had made.
Pelletier says there was reluctance among some in Quebec to see the killings as more than an isolated act of a troubled man, to recognize what she says is so clear, that women and feminists were targeted.
There was a great resistance to say that there was even though we had refashioned this place, we were the most progressive province in Canada, that something as dark and as evil as the Montreal Massacre could happen here. It took us a long time to acknowledge it.
With time, some say the discourse around the tragedy has evolved, but it remains an undeniable part of École Polytechnique's history.
Right now, it's more of a sinking feelings, thinking as a woman, it could have been me at that time for no other reason.
Today, these students say there's nothing radical about their choice to enter the field of engineering.
I didn't choose engineering to make a point necessarily. I chose engineering because that's what I'm interested in, what I like to do, and what's great is that now I'm able to do that without questioning.
What went through your mind walking into the school for the first time, knowing that that's something that had happened here?
We want this kind of guys don't decide what is going on. We decide for ourselves that, okay, this is the place we want to be. We don't have to focus on this kind of people.
And neither does Jim Edward. He wants to focus on those who were lost and making sure the next generation doesn't forget. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
We have to take a short break, but when we come back, we pay tribute to the 14 women killed on this day 30 years ago, who they were and the lives they were supposed to live. Welcome back to Montreal. For 30 years, the public memory of the 14 women killed at École Polytechnique has been defined by their deaths. But tragedy can distort memory, and loss can overshadow lives. Each of those women had lives and dreams, so tonight, that's what we remember. Geneviève Bergeron was in her second year, was at Polytechnique on a scholarship. A music lover, she played the clarinet and she sang with the Montreal Symphony Orchestra. Hélène Coguin was ambitious and poised for a huge future. About to graduate, she already had 3 job offers. She also had her eye on a master's degree. But first, a trip to Cancun, Mexico, with her classmate, Nathalie Croteau. Nathalie Croteau was outgoing, a loyal friend, and close to graduation. She and Hélène Coguin were counting down the days until that well-earned trip to Mexico. Her home of Brossard named a community center in her honor. Maryse Lagagnère was the only victim who wasn't a student that day. She was the school's budget clerk. The youngest of 14 siblings, she'd only recently married. Confident, rebellious Maryse Leclerc was one of the top students and a serious fan of British punk and new wave music. Her father, Montreal Police Lieutenant Pierre Leclerc, was on the scene that night. He happened upon Maryse's body. He immediately recognized her sweater. Anne-Marie Lemay, who was a really talented singer, also had a really big goal: to improve prosthetic limbs. That's what drove her to engineering. Barbara Dagnon was going to graduate at the end of the year. Mechanical engineering was a family tradition. She worked as her father's teaching assistant. They'd planned to meet 2 days after the shooting to work on her final project. Sonia Pelletier was the head of her class, and she already had a job offer lined up for the week after the attack. Her dream was to start her own engineering firm. Anne-Marie Edward loved the outdoors, and she adored extreme sports. She was on the École Polytechnique ski team. After her death, her teammates wore patches with her initials on their uniforms. She was buried in her ski jacket. Michelle Richard, also known as Mimi, had been described as brilliant and gentle. She planned to marry her long-term boyfriend and dreamed of her once estranged father walking her down the aisle. They'd only recently reconciled. Maude Avernick was a woman of great drive. She already had a degree in environmental design and a diploma in science. In 1992, a scholarship was set up in her name at the Université du Québec at Montréal. While in high school, Annie Saint-Arnaud was the only girl in the science club. She was a lover of poetry and the arts, too. In 2015, the library in her hometown, La Tuque, was named after her. Originally from Poland, Barbara Klucznik-Widowicz gave up a career in economics to study nursing. She spoke 5 languages. Her husband was with her that night in the cafeteria, but wasn't hurt. Annie Turcotte wanted to use her engineering skills to address environmental issues. She was also an avid swimmer and in the summers offered free classes to kids with disabilities.
Welcome back to our national newsroom in Vancouver. In international news, more chaos in France as a nationwide general strike stretched into its second day. In Paris, nearly 2/3 of the metro lines were shut down. Some commuters tried to avoid rush hour, but traffic jams still clogged the roads. Shop owners are worried the crucial Christmas season could be spoiled if this strike drags on much longer. Unions are fighting pension reforms and extended the strike until Tuesday. Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg has arrived in Madrid, where UN-sponsored talks on climate change are underway.
The hope is not within the walls of the COP25. The hope is out here with you.
The 16-year-old addressing protesters after leading a massive climate march through the Spanish capital. After citing safety concerns from close crowds, she went by electric car to the march's end point. And billionaire businessman Elon Musk has won that defamation suit against him. The Tesla CEO was sued over a tweet that he sent last year in which he called a British cave diver pedo guy. Vernon Unsworth helped rescue 12 boys and their soccer coach trapped in a cave in Thailand. Musk came up with his own plan for getting them out. Unsworth insulted it, and so Musk shot back. He apologized during the trial. And I'll be back for tonight's moment in a few minutes, but now it's back to Adrian in Montreal.
One of the most sought-after cultural events here in Montreal right now is an exhibition of Vincent van Gogh's art. But visitors won't get anywhere near the Dutch master's actual canvases. As Deanna Sumanak-Johnson explains, instead, they'll be immersed in them.
They have come in from the cold to walk through a starry night and among the sunflowers. These Montrealers are the first North Americans to see the exhibit that was a hit in Europe. The Imagine Van Gogh show features 200 of the painter's best-known works projected onto the gallery's walls and even the floor.
When you're in a gallery, you have just a little painting. You can watch it. Here, you can walk. Children can run. You can touch the canvas. You are inside the paintings, inside all those details.
This exhibition is part of the trend of immersive art. It's a way for audiences to experience art without actually seeing the paintings. The National Gallery in London is currently showing a virtual reality experience of Leonardo da Vinci's work. Then there's the Picasso Immersive in Lyon, France, where viewers take a mind-bending trip around his paintings. But not everyone is a fan of immersive experiences. Reviewing a similar Van Gogh immersive show in Paris called Starry Night, artist Joseph Nechvatal called it one of the greatest banalizations of painting I have ever seen, matched only by Van Gogh kitchen hand towels. The editor of the online art magazine that published that review sees both the pros and cons.
The part that I dislike is sometimes there's the illusion of intimacy with an artwork, rather than the reality of spending time and with an artwork in a very intimate setting.
But he sees the value of these shows in introducing people to the joy of art.
It takes away the pretension, which I think is one of the barriers that museums have with the public.
The Montreal Van Gogh show has already sold 40,000 tickets. Many of those who came on opening night say they saw the real Van Gogh paintings in museums and see this as a different way of appreciating his work.
With the music and the ambience, it's very, very touching, I would say.
You used to see maybe his paintings that are a little smaller, but now on a big screen with projection and music, it's very, very impressive.
But chances are, for some, this may replace the need to see the real paintings altogether. A new incarnation of the Dutch painter who died obscure and penniless seems to be in the stars. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Montreal.
When we come back, notes of hope on a somber anniversary. We'll leave you with the words and the music from this choir. That's next in our moment. Here in Montreal and right across Canada, this has been a day of remembrance, a time to recite the names and honor the lives of 14 young women shot and killed just because they were women. So let's return to the ceremony that took place here just hours ago when 150 voices were raised as one. Their rendition of a Canadian classic captured the reverence of that moment, and that is our moment.
So Adrian, like you, I remember that night so well, exactly where I was, but what's it like to be there tonight?
Well, it was a little haunting, Ian. It was a snowy night, just as it was 30 years ago. Hundreds of people here. At one point, someone asked people to sort of raise their arms to the sky towards those 14 beams of light, and so you saw all these gloved and mittened hands raising to the sky. It was a short ceremony, but incredibly emotional, even all these years later. That is a national for December the 6th. Good night.
Right.